Hey, yes, I've been quiet for a couple of days. Okay, well, I'm in Worselt and life was not very easy. Um, but I thank God that He had not given me the level of intelligence to realize what my life was really like and how people regarded me where I lived. So I just survived in a vacuum of ignorance. And so I didn't react the way I should have reacted if I had known the level of hatred towards me. Um, but, there were, in all my life, I have been very, very blessed. People might not think like that because I just think about certain times when what could have happened if we didn't have this particular person in my life. When you look back from the beginning, I thank God for my great grandmother. When we moved, when I was with my father and we moved over to Sesheke and he was arrested, I think I said before, my stepmother was not the sort of person who could have managed, a bit like me really, when I was trying to survive here. She's not the person that could have managed the sorting and arranging stuff after my father went into prison. And, after that, he didn't have any income. And then obviously we had to try and arrange to come back to Livingstone from Sesheke. And there wasn't any public transport in those days. And, she wouldn't have known how to get money to keep us going until we get there. If it wasn't for that man I told you, I think his name was John Mufalari, the chap who became the big boss of the Coca-Cola company. I think he kept us going. I think he sorted everything in terms of money for food, arranging us to come back. I was young, but he was the only person. He's the only person I can think that was looking after us. That I noticed, that I realized that there was someone who was taking care of us, and I think it was him that did that. That helped us all to do that. And but here I am in Worselt, and I'm thinking, I'm living and I'm okay and I'm carrying on as best as I can. But there was one person who was like an anchor, and she was just a kind person, Stephanie, the one that helped me with college work and stuff and encouraged me. She was a teacher. She's retired now. And, she had a very big detached house. There was a different class of people together. She often invited us to have dinner in her house, and we had many Christmases in her house too. Where we had Christmas dinner there and that kind of thing. So God was on my side. God brought Stephanie to me. And of course, there were other people who I have no idea. I'm saying about Stephanie because I think she was the only genuine person that wanted to help genuinely, because she's just a nice person. And I think everybody else who wanted to help was because they had other agendas. A lot of things going back. I've had a horrific life. I have a horrific life. Heartbreaks, incomprehensible to other people, unimaginable of how you would have dealt with it if you had to go through that. And this is inflicted and done by people who turned out to be people I thought they were on our side. That we trusted with my son. When we first moved to that house, there was. Let me just talk about the work that we had done. when we moved there, it was obviously, it looked like people hadn't lived there for however long, because the garden was overgrown. There was this mountain of soil. There was very little space between the back door and the bit that you could go, to the rest of the village from the back door of our house, because there was this mound of soil. But it didn't look like, although there was bungalows above us and we looked like we were in the ditch, but it looked like this soil had been put there from years and years ago, and as if it wasn't there before. But, grass had grown over it, obviously. So it was like a hill right in front of your garden, right in front of your door, sorry. And I decided, me from my background of hard work and the work that I've done in the village growing up, it was piece of cake. I bought tools. I bought a pick, I bought shovels, and I dug that soil. I dug that mound and used the soil to level up the garden. But I had to dig up the garden as well, dig all the grass out, and then dig all this soil from this mountain. It was amazing how much space it created. It was so spacious that we put a 6x8 one of these wooden huts, and that became like a place where we kept all the stuff that we didn't need. It a bit like a garage, and it fitted there. A 6x8. That's how big the space I cleared, digging up and shoveling the soil onto one end, filling the wheelbarrows and doing that. And so I was doing that, and the kids got involved. I would fill up the wheelbarrow with the soil that I was digging, and they would wheel it up and empty it in the part where I wanted it, where the rest of the garden where I had dug up the soil, the grass. And so we leveled the whole garden up. It was amazing. Apart from the back was still on a high, although, I did a lot of digging and made a level garden, so to speak. And we made bedding for flowers, and my husband planted flowers. We bought and the reason why I'm saying this is people watched me and my family doing this. And they were amazed, because nobody ever did that. The council got to get wind of it. They knew that we were doing this, and they knew that we were the kind of people then, they must have realized, that wanted to live in a nicer place. And we were making our little home a nicer place, trying our best inside and outside. And the hedge was cut, and it looked nicer, the front where we had put all this soil, we leveled it up and got some turf. We bought some turf, I think from B&Q. I can't remember somewhere else, wherever it is. My husband went and bought some turf, and we laid it out. So it was like everybody's been watching us digging and doing all of this, and overnight they're coming in, and there was this beautiful grass growing in the garden where there was all sorts of sods and whatever in the back that we dug out and leveled. And people were like, how did you do that? How did you put that nice grass when there was all that stuff? And I would say to them, it's African magic, and the kids were like, oh, that is good African magic. And so we would, it was one of my husband planted flowers, and we enjoyed just sitting there, and the flowers had really bloomed. I think they like, let me help you. They tend to say that plants like a happy soul, but I was one unhappy soul. But thankfully the plants, they grew for me, and at least there was something to look at that was nice as I walked into my own garden. So we did things together as a family, and we weren't living as people who were constantly against each other. It was just the very odd times when there was a discipline issue, and that has ruined my life completely. Because it was as if I was not supposed to say anything. I was not supposed to say, oh, you can't do that. Well, I was never brought up like that. I mean, even now, I've got my own mind, not the kind that brainwashed from my grandmother. I still think that it was very wrong, because unless someone can come to me and say, I would have been happy for my child to be doing these things, and I would never have said anything to them, it was not as if I was constantly on their go about it. It was the fact that they were constantly bringing it to me. So, and okay, I was their mother. I was their parent. You know, there was two things driving me with that. One, I did not want their lives destroyed, because they didn't realize it, but they were seeing as something different. They were no more these white kids as they wanted to believe themselves to be back home. And, you know, the sort like me, they called Blackie, and it was, they were also in my league now. They were also Blackie. So they were considered in the same category. And for me, I just wanted them to be safe. You know, and this is why I have managed to survive, because the vileness and the hatred that I've got from these people. I mean, I'm not talking about just the one side. It's my life, you know, whichever way you look at it. It's the fact that I have categorically never done anything so badly wrong out of just fun. You know, she said in the message she sent me after my son died that I was cruel. Well, I wish I was cruel, because they gave me every opportunity to be cruel. And I could have been on a daily basis as far as she's concerned. You know, I had these challenges. I had no one's help. So if the people who came in and added their bits to it and said it's because you were cruel, yes, I grabbed her, I marched her upstairs. Is that the only thing that I've ever done to her in my life? We had lovely times. I made her clothes. I did her hair. We went and played at the park. We told stories. We played together. We slept together. We cuddled up. And the only thing that's been highlighted is I am cruel. Yes, I wish I was cruel. I really wish I was cruel, because then I could be, you know, it could be real. Then I could be saying, well, I deserve that. I really deserve that. But right now, I don't think I do deserve that. But at the same time, I haven't dwelt on it. I have not done myself away from all the anguish from any side of my families. It's because I've done nothing wrong in their lives. If anything, I'm the only one in their lives who has ever done something good. I'm the only one. If I wasn't in those kids' life, they would have not been able to come to the UK. They would have stayed in Zambia. Because actually, to be honest, their father's lawyer subsequently became president of the country. And he is the only ever president in that country that was zero tolerance to corruption, and the only one that started the infrastructure that we see now in Zambia, the kind of development that any country should have. He is the one that started it. So he was a very hardworking person, but also a very trustworthy person. And he would have said to him, you know, just accept your contract as a local, because you cannot take these kids from the country. I was their ticket here, whether they appreciate it or not. How amazing. You know, years later, I bring 2 other kids and they turn on me over the same kind of thing, discipline issues, because they want to go do their own thing. But I'll tell you about that another time. And, you know, I just thank God. You know, it's a bad thing, but I thank God that I was young and naive. Because would you believe I hadn't even cut my wisdom tooth? My wisdom tooth came out while I lived in Goethals, just before my husband died. And I remember we'd gone to the dentist, and the dentist had said, "Oh, you're chewing yourself because your wisdom teeth are coming out." And it was before I was 25. So he made an appointment for me to go and get them pulled out. And I completely forgot the appointment. And he took me off his books. I didn't quite understand it at the time. What's the big deal? I forgot to come. It's my mouth, my teeth you'll be pulling. But I forgot. To be honest, I'm glad I forgot, because I wouldn't have wanted the pain that goes with it. So he cut me off his list, and I didn't have a dentist for a while. Not that I bothered, because I had good teeth. I did have a filling from when I was in Zambia, and that was because my husband had sent me to the dentist when I got pregnant, saying that you need your oral hygiene, fixed. And but now that that filling came out 3 years ago, when I had all that intensive treatment in the hospital when I was in for 3 months, it just literally just came out clean, because apparently it was made of lead, and some of the medication I was taking were antibiotics against lead damage or something like that, and it literally just opened. And when I looked, I thought, oh, my tooth was fine. Why the heck did he have to put that thing on for? I think he just did it to be paid. I didn't have anything that needed a filling, but that's there you go. That's how it was. And it was as if that the street, that's where they wanted to bring people who had gone to live in Africa, and now they come back with African wives. They put them in that street. So it was a cul-de-sac. At the end house in the cul-de-sac, we had a new neighbor, Mr. Jones, Mr. Michael Jones. He had 2 little girls, Helen and Michelle, and he was married to this woman. I think her name was Mabel, but she never came with him. He had his dad living in his own private house, and they used to go and visit there. But and he actually took over the house when his dad died. But he was given a council house there on 4th Avenue. And he used to say it was, I'm trying to think now what it was. I can't remember who it was. It was someone. Oh, I think I know. I think it was, I can't remember. Oh, I think one of the kids must have said, "Oh, it's your birthday," and the other one says, "Oh yes, what will you be? 25? You'll be 25 with you?" I said, "No, I'm older than that." I used to say to them that I was 10 years older. I used to tell them I would say I'm 30 something. I never used to say I'm actually not even mid-20s yet. And I remember Mr. Jones going, "I knew there was something about you that wasn't right. You would just seem so young. So yeah, so that's all you are." And of course, then he's like, "Wow, such a young." I mean, honestly, it was shocking. It was close to pedophilia. My marriage, I was so young, so young, and I didn't grow up in an environment where I could have said, "Oh yeah, well, I've seen a lot of examples of life, and this is how it was." There was no other examples, and what I thought I knew was I thought that was the whole world. I was shockingly disappointed, and then stuck. I mean, I'm completely still stuck now, because unless you learn something from a friend, and for me, I was very busy trying to create something about myself that I thought was of value and that I thought would have been more respectable, because I thought if I got myself educated and got a better job, my children will have something to be proud about. So anyway, yeah, so, that is how life was. So anyway, among the people that sort of spotted what we were doing, whether that's when this woman Lynn realized who we were or got to know us, I didn't know many. To me there was too many of them to know, but they obviously knew who I was. The person who's moved, obviously I would have been, because it's so easy to spot, black family in that environment. And so years later, when things went so bad for me, she was there to help me with my son, because I had sent him to the primary school where her son used to go, and she says, "Oh, I'll have him for you." And yes, she I thought was on the par with my friend Stephanie, because I thought she genuinely was just that kind of a nice person. But years later, what I came to learn about my son and what he endured there, I mean, what can I say? What can I say? And the most painful thing is that these are the people, and I can only say that it's something complete. It's as if it's something absolutely supernatural, because you cannot go to someone who has hurt you so badly and elevate them as the best person than the person who has always constantly rescued and loved you, and be in league with them to destroy the only person who has ever been good to you. None of it makes sense to me. None of it does. But I'll come to that. And this is why I don't make these recordings as regular as I do, because I get all sorts of jumbled up stuff comes up to my mind, and I don't know how to unravel them and talk about them, bit by bit as they came along. It's just I get bombarded with it all in my head, and I can't unravel it. But that, life in Goso, we did the garden. We did. My husband put a couple of cupboards in the kitchen and shelves. Yeah, that's how life was. And then we met these people. We made friends with these people, with this old couple. It turns out, I thought it was a couple where they were husband and wife, but it turns out that she was a friend to the wife, and so when the wife became ill, these are people who were in their 70s, all right, and my husband would have been in his 60s. He was 65 when he died. So there you go. Now you know. And so, those were like his friends. I mean, he made friends with those. And for me, I did not know that there was gay people. I did not know that there was pedophiles. I did not know any of that. None whatsoever. Completely sheltered. And I thought that if anything bad in terms of sexual abuse would happen, it would be a man abusing a girl. I never dreamt that a man would abuse a little boy. Yeah. All right, I'll leave it there.